Okay, this is going to be Little Round Top Part 15 and also Secrets of the Battlefield. And as we look here at the 83rd Pennsylvania Strong Vincent Monument and we turn here, we're going to start walking in the distance and we're going to soon come upon a stone wall. As we get to the stone wall here in this wooded area, and if you stay and look here at the stone wall, in the front of us you're going to see a marker sticking out of the ground, or what used to be a marker right here. And this is actually one of the posts that once held the plaque for the 22nd Massachusetts Regiment. Now, this regiment was under the command of Colonel William S. Tilton, who were in the wheat field. And we've looked at the 22nd Massachusetts Monument over there before. They fought over there on July 2nd, and on July 3rd, they were moved here to this position. And at one time, there used to be a plaque that marked the July 3rd position of the 22nd Massachusetts, which stood here. And this of course was vandalized or broken at some point, and later lost. But this is one of those things that people really don't notice too well. There is another regiment, if you go up here further, which was the 18th Massachusetts Regiment. And the 18th Massachusetts also at one time had a plaque, and that plaque was up here where this other post is. So for those who have wandered on the field and wondered what these missing posts are, they are for the 18th and 22nd Massachusetts Regiments under Colonel William Tilton, who fought in the wheat field on July 2nd, and then were moved over here on July 3rd, 1863. And these are what's left of the original markers that once stood here. So this has been Little Round Top Part 15, Secrets of the Battlefield, the broken post of the 18th and 22nd Massachusetts Regiments here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook Round Top series. And we're here looking at a marker that says Strong Vincent, General Strong Vincent, wounded July 2nd, died July 7th, 1863. And we've already done a video on the field hospital where he died, so you want to go back and review that video. However, there is a contradiction, because just on the other side of the 44th New York castle up here, there's a rock that has inscribed in it that it was the spot where he was wounded and died. And of course, here's the contradiction. Now, my theory is, while fighting on top of the hill on July 2nd, he was mortally struck just on the other side of that castle where the carving was. Those carvings are old. They go back to probably still in 1863. And then he was moved over here to this position. And this rock was noticed by someone. Of course, later a marker was put in here. And then from this spot, he was taken to the field hospital in which he died. And later on our tour, we'll look at the rock carving on top of Little Round Top that also basically says the same thing as this marker. This has been Little Round Top, Part 16, the spot of General Strong Vincent's wounding on July 2nd, 1863. Looking at the monument that is dedicated to the 44th New York, as well as some members of the 12th New York. They were here between the 83rd Pennsylvania, which is in this direction, and of course the 16th Michigan, where we just came from. Here on July 2nd, 1863, the 44th New York, as well as two companies from the 12th New York, serving in the 5th Corps. Now, the 44th New York was organized in Albany, New York in 1861. Its Colonel, James Rice, was still in command as the regiment fought here on the slopes of Little Round Top. Just as the 16th Michigan was being flanked by the 4th Texas, they were on the right flank, and there were no other troops in the valley, as we talked about. The federal troops needed reinforcements, or they would have to abandon Little Round Top and then open up the rear of the army to the Southerners. Reinforcements did arrive in the form of General Stephen Weed's brigades, 4 regiments, 2 from New York and 2 from Pennsylvania. Now, this monument stands 44 feet tall, meaning 44th New York, by 12 feet deep, meaning 12th New York, or some of the companies from the 12th New York, rather. It's one of the largest, actually the largest regimental monument here on the Gettysburg battlefield. It was dedicated in July of 1893 at a cost of $11,000. And we did a video from on top of the castle, which you'll want to go back and review. This has been the 44th and 12th New York here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook, Little Round Top, Part 17. 16th Michigan, this regiment was organized in Detroit in 1861. It consisted of 263 men who were present here at the Battle of Gettysburg, and they sat here on the western face of Little Round Top and repulsed the position of the Confederate attack from the west. Now, at the time of the battle, there were no Union regiments between this monument and Devil's Den when the Confederate attack came up. Now, the monument itself was dedicated on June the 12th, 1889, and there were 30 men present at its dedication. This monument was placed here in tribute to those men from Detroit who fought so gallantly here on July 2nd, 1863. The 16th Michigan was placed in this position on July 2nd, right around the same time that General Strong Vincent was wounded just to the left side of the castle where the rock carving is today. This has been Little Round Top, Part 17 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And just to the left of the monument, on this stone at the top, is a rock carving where Colonel Strong Vincent fell commanding the 3rd Brigade, 1st Division of the 5th Corps on July 2nd, 1863. A couple videos back, we talked about a marker that basically said the same thing. This rock carving is one of the oldest on the Gettysburg battlefield, and it was carved not too long after the battle. Whether each spot is the right spot, no one may ever know, but as far as the battle is concerned, it was Vincent who was attempting to get the 16th Michigan and rally them on the slopes of Little Round Top. So in position with the 16th Michigan, this would be a better position for Vincent to have been where he may have been mortally wounded than down the hill on the other side to the left over by the 83rd Pennsylvania. So again, as I stated in an earlier video, it is probably most likely that Strong Vincent fell mortally wounded right here where this rock carving is today, and then he was taken from this spot over to the side of the hill in this direction, and just over over these rocks over here, his wounded body was taken, and then it was seriously seen that he needed medical care, and there he was taken to a field hospital where he died on July 7th, 1863. And just before dying, he was promoted to general, so which he may have never known. This has been Little Round Top, Part 18, and Secrets of the Battlefield, the rock carving here next to the 44th New York Castle on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And we're looking at the battery for Lieutenant Charles E. Hazlitt, Battery D, 5th United States Artillery, which occupied this position here on July 2nd, 1863. There were no roads on the hill in 1863, and this was not really a good position. It was subject to sharpshooters from the Confederates that were advancing upon the hill. This spot also was where the 91st Pennsylvania fought, and their monument today says, erected by the 91st Pennsylvania in memory of General Weed, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Division, 5th Army Corps, and Lieutenant Charles E. Hazlitt, who fell on this spot July 2nd, 1863. Now, there is also a secret here of a rock carving that sits behind the 91st Pennsylvania. And what ended up happening here was that on July 2nd, 1863, Weed was shot right here where this rock carving was. As his friend Hazlitt bent over him to get his last words, he was struck and mortally wounded as well. So here where the rock carving sits here behind the 91st Pennsylvania monument was, 2 men were mortally wounded and died from their wounds here sustained on July 2nd of 1863. The 91st Pennsylvania is one of those few regiments that has 2 monuments. We're looking at the back of one now and the front face of the 91st Pennsylvania monument, which was put up later on the western slope of Little Round Top. But again, this is the position of Lieutenant Charles E. Hazlitt's 5th United States Artillery here on the western slope of Little Round Top. This is also the artillery pieces that when President Kennedy came to visit the battlefield that he stood in front of and a photograph was taken, which you can go back and watch our video series, John F. Kennedy's Visit to Gettysburg. This has been Little Round Top Part 19 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Here at the strange cropping of boulders called the Curious Rocks. They are a natural art form, and they were probably used and occupied by members of the 146th New York and 91st Pennsylvania as they skirmished with Confederate troops here on the western face of Little Round Top on July 2nd, 1863. This has been Little Round Top, Part 20, The Curious Rocks on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Round Top, Part 21, and also Secrets of the Battlefield, the old Sykes Avenue. In this 1897 photograph, you can see the right flank marker of the 146 New York Volunteers next to this boulder, and then you can see the Sykes Avenue, the old Sykes Avenue that goes right by the boulder and the monument. And if you look on the boulder, on the right side of the boulder, there's like a crack with a little piece. Today, this scene looks like this. This is the site of the old Sykes Avenue roadbed, which came up this way, as you've seen in the photograph. And that corner of the boulder is no longer there. It's actually missing. And if you look over here to the left flank marker here, or the right flank marker, you can see the piece that used to sit up here that's broken off. And it now sits on the ground next to the right flank marker. But Sykes Avenue, the original Sykes Avenue, used to come up here, and this is the old roadbed for it, and it wrapped around. This has been Little Round Top, Part 21, on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. 22, and today we're going to look at 2 regiments that defended this hill on July 2nd, 1863, and they're 2 Zouave regiments, and we did a little bit about them on our Little Round Top Zouave series. The first one is the 146th New York. Like the 91st Pennsylvania, the 146th New York Volunteers were late to Little Round Top and did not participate in any of the major fighting here. They spent time skirmishing with the enemy, and they also were protecting Hazlitt's guns, which are just behind the large boulders behind the monument. A lieutenant in the 146th New York said, "As the hill made an excellent outlook over the field of the third day's fight, General Meade and his staff, with the Signal Corps, were there all day, occupying a rocky pen directly in the line held by the 146th New York." Now, that rocky pen is probably the rocks that sit here behind this monument. The second Union regiment that we want to see today and talk about is the 155th Pennsylvania Volunteers. Also, a Zouave regiment from out in the area of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, it's no surprise that the last regiment of Weed's Brigade only suffered 5.3% casualties, and that was the 155th Pennsylvania Volunteers. They also assisted in the protection of Hazlitt's guns as they were dragging those guns up the hill, and they took the position just to the right of the 146th New York. Now, though in 1863 these soldiers were not attired in their Zouave uniforms, when they dedicated their monument in September of 1886. Originally it stood here just with the bottom half of the monument, as you see in my camera frame. Later on, a soldier dressed in the Zouave attire was placed at the top of the monument. This has been the 146th New York and the 155th Pennsylvania Zouave regiments defending Little Round Top, and also Little Round Top Part 22 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook.